So, I just recently played Until Dawn for the very first time ever, and yep, it's a masterpiece.
Get off, bro, what is you doing?
Yes, I'm talking about the 2015 sensation that had people gushing over the graphics. I swear I remember I was like 10th grade in high school when everyone and their mother was just talking about this game. It had truly felt like we had entered a new era. But 10th grade Yuri was way too cool for school to be caught liking anything that was even remotely considered mainstream. And for 9 years, I went mostly unspoiled. Then, I was swiftly reminded of the game when the remake was announced and when it came out. And also a heap of problems that came with it, mostly that it was quote unquote an overpriced remake. Not my words, this guy's, check it out, it's not me, I swear. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to dive into what exactly made the original so enticing, such a breath of fresh air, so to speak, and why is it still able to hold strong even after nearly a decade after its release. And well, lucky for you, there is one thing that I am great at and that I love to do, and that is to yap. Yapping is in my DNA. Yapping is my middle name. Yuri Yapping Clark. It's a weird name, I know. I'm embarrassed. Within this video, I'll tackle the story, the characters, the horror tropes within the game itself, and how Supermassive made the impossible possible. This is Until Dawn, when throwing everything at the wall works. Before I can begin actually talking about the finer details of the game, I want to first focus on the game's creation and the insane work that went into it. There is a lot of work involved in creating a game of any kind, but that's especially true for Supermassive's Until Dawn. Just like any other creative project, it began with a concept. Artists were to design the snowy mountains of British Columbia, designing key locations of the game such as the ski lodge and cable car station, lone pathways that are used by Jess and Mike later in the game, all the while playing with the lighting and the tone to help storyboard even further. Until Dawn wanted to focus on two things from as far as I can see. The first thing being to bring back the rude essence of early 2000s slasher film vibes, just as Halloween and Evil Dead 2, just to name a couple. And the other thing, the second thing, was the expressions. Lots and lots of expressions. When I tell you that entire days were spent on just facial expressions alone, that'd be an understatement. The studio in which the actors acted in was actually placed in LA, and so the actors had to imagine an entirely different climate and one that they were presently in. I guess you could say they had to warm up to the idea.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But no, in all seriousness, the director used a mixture of infrared camera matrix systems, and the actors were to wear reflective beat suits to get how the actors spoke, how the actors obviously looked at all angles, and most importantly, how they showed their different array of emotions throughout the tense and sometimes tender moments.
Idiot! So dumb!
Once the typography was finished, the actors themselves are ready to voice the part. Again though, the biggest focus is the array of emotions throughout the game, making sure to show happiness, the fear, the confusion, the disgust. The way they did this was marking a predetermined set of markers on an actor's face and hooking them up into a wireless capture device helmet, showing their every move as they act on different sections of the game. This alongside the interior designs, 2 different audio layers for every single voice line within the game, to the insane amount of footage of the actors themselves, to the 3D models from the reflective beat suit footage, becomes a massive editing task that'll take Supermassive 7 whole years to write the 10,000 page script, compile the team, find the right actors for that job, completely shoot, edit, and finalize the game for its release in 2015. When I say it's a journey, it was a journey. But the long hours and hard work did not fall short. Until Dawn truly brings the feeling of nostalgia as you would get while watching any horror movie classic. From the teens looking way older than what they actually are, to the same teens making less than intelligent decisions, to the in-your-face cringiness that you just can't help but laugh at.
It was just a prank, Han.
But excuse me, I'm getting way, and I mean way ahead of myself. Let me recap the game in its entirety so that way we'll all be on the same page later down in the video when I get hyperfixated on something, because you know it's going to happen. Yuri Yapping Clark. Still a weird name. The game begins like any horror movie classic. A bunch of teens out in the woods, horny, intoxicated, while the killer is about. The game makes sure to introduce everyone and their relationships with one another. Let's start with the main girl, Hannah, because she's going to be extremely important to the plot. Hannah is the shy one of the group and is the whole reason the group of teens were up in the mountains celebrating in the first place. I believe it was for her birthday. The game never specifies it really, but later in the game, you're able to find that she was writing in her diary that she was so excited to invite everybody up for this ski launch celebration, but we don't really know what it was for. Could have been for her birthday, could have been that she graduated, could have been for her tattoo she got, no clue. But what we do know, Hannah actually has a huge crush on Mike, who's currently with Emily. Emily is the smarts of the group. I say smarts with a quote because her attitude is insufferable, but she is a 4.0 student, valedictorian, so I guess there's that. Jessica, seeming to be good friends with him, is the looks of the group. I say this with quotations because, well, her attitude is also quite insufferable. Apparently for a while now, Hannah has been crushing on Mike hard and wanted to use the celebration as an excuse to spend more time with him and maybe even put some moves on him. Obviously, Jess and Emily do not like this, and so they conduct a plan to, well, quote unquote, prank the hell out of her. I say prank with quotes because the prank's attitude was insufferable. Stupid jokes aside, this prank introduces the other friends as well. We have Ashley, a shy but serious girl who happens to have a little bit of a crush on our friend Chris. And then we have Matt, the black guy. That's his whole thing. No, I'm kidding, but he's the gentle giant of the group. He's a meathead, but he doesn't like to cause too many problems. Then we have Sam, the only one who is very much not in favor of the prank at all. But still, she knew, but she didn't tell Hannah. So she isn't blameless. And of course, we have the main man, Mike, the worst of them all. He wrote Hannah a flirty letter, knowing she likes him and knowing she was going to be pranked in front of all her friends while having his girlfriend do the pranking. This guy is borderline fucking evil. Of course, Hannah doesn't really seem to like to be embarrassed in front of everyone she thought cared for her, so she runs out of the woods while a blizzard is in full effect. Not good. Beth's, Hannah's sister, seeing something strange outside, goes to alert her brother Josh and Chris, the guy who Ashley has a crush on, but they are knocked out cold from a night of endless drinking. So she goes to tell the others, to only find that her sister ran out in the blizzard with some strange figure that she just saw. So, of course, the only good human out there, she decides to just run there. Not before Emily could say her famous line.
It was just a prank, Han. What did you do?
We were just messing around, Beth. It wasn't serious.
You jerks!
Like I said, Beth, being the only good human there, would venture out into the storm in search of her sister and would come to eventually find her, crying, lost, and very much cold. But things quickly worsen when something begins to chase them through the woods, chasing them off a cliff. As they hang there helplessly, a stream of fire can be seen as a strange man gives them a helping hand. Now, whatever choice you make, Hannah and Beth will fall into the ravine, killing them both. Not really, but more on that later. A year has passed and Hannah and Beth have been reported missing for a full year now. Josh, the brother of the two sisters, wanted to celebrate their deaths on their anniversary when the two went missing. He said that they wouldn't want everyone to be sad about them being gone, but instead smiling that they were there. So they planned to do just that. Still kind of weird in my opinion, but hey, it's the thought that really counts. Who am I to judge? One by one, the group of friends make their way up the mountain. Chris and Sam take the cable car up to the mountain. Jessica eagerly awaits Mike to show because apparently in the past year, Mike and Em broke up, and so now Jessica and Mike are together. Isn't some kind of girl code being broke here? I thought you weren't supposed to date your best friend's ex. Matt and Emily travel up the mountain together because also apparently they've begun to go out, so Em seems to still have feelings for Mike as they bicker and, well, hug, but we'll get more into that later. Oh yeah, and right, Ashley, she's the one to show Matt in the first place. I am just purely evil. Look at this stream clip. I live for the drama. I just did not care.
Real
Oh
scary.
my gosh, oh my gosh.
Hey, wow. Man, I'm really sorry, Ash. Damn.
It's okay, it's fine. It's fine.
What are you looking at? See anything juicy with that thing? Let me check it out.
Okay, no, take a look. Take a look. I want your heart to be broken.
Sure, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Oh my god, bro. Yep.
Son of a bitch.
I'm saying.
Seriously? Emily?
Yes, Emily.
Hell, man.
Hey, listen.
After you just gaslit
Nothing,
me,
you think?
Well, yeah.
Is it ever just nothing with him?
you should break up.
Ever?
I don't know.
Damn it.
Matt.
I'm too petty for this game. Oh, I'm too petty for this game. Oh no.
Anyways, everyone gets up to the mountain safe and sound and seems to be happy. Well, all except Matt, but you know, he just got cut, so give the man a break. Josh and Chris figure out how to get into the lodge because of course the lock has frozen from the cold climate. One jump scare later.
Get the fuck?
The group of teens finally get into the lodge and can
party like we're fucking porn stars, okay?
They do not in fact party like they're fucking porn stars, because as soon as Emily walks in, she starts beefing with Jess and Mike for absolutely no reason. Things get pretty heated and I love every second of it.
Em, come on.
No, shut up, Matt.
Stay out of it, you dumb oaf.
Hey, watch it.
Oh, you're the only one who can put him down? No one else can play with your toys?
You're such a bitch.
Whatever.
Too bad Josh breaks up the fight and tells Mike and Jess to go to the log cabin out in the woods somewhere, so to let things cool down a bit. The two go off on their sexapade, not my words, Jess's. While Em and Matt head back down to the mountain because she forgot her $1,000 bag from Rodeo? I actually have no idea what that is. Is that what is that? $1,000? Oh my goodness. All Sam wants to do is take a nice warm bath and goes with Josh into the basement to turn the boiler on. And finally, Ashley and Chris go on a cute little hangout date to go find a spirit board because it cannot be a horror movie if not complete with a friend group or a person in the group disrespecting the dead for whatever reason. Sam says, yeah, fuck all that, and goes to have her bath, leaving the three of them to play with the dead. Surprise, surprise, it doesn't go well, and they end up speaking to Hannah or Beth, which freaks out Josh, but not really, but we'll get more into that much later in the video. Oh shit, I forgot to mention that Jess and Mike, while out on their journey to the log cabin, had fallen into some weird mine. This is the first instance within the game where we get a glimpse of what's really going on here. Mike and Jess are able to see a freshly smoked cigar, indicating that someone was there just not too long ago, all the while we can see a wall full of indigenous artifacts such as stag skulls and dream catchers. Then later, after coming across a fallen tree in the path, Jess decides to play a trick on Mike and scare the shit out of him. Very nice. Very mature. While on the topic of indigenous people, a subplot boiling in the background is this constant mention of the mountain belonging to the tribe before the miners decide to mine into the mountain, causing things to become a very tense situation between the Washingtons, who was this rich ass family who bought out the mountain, and also happens to be Josh, Beth, and Hannah's super rich parents, and the tribe was afraid of even more tampering on the mountain as nature was a sacred thing that they practice. All throughout the game you can find these things called totems, which will help you either guide your characters to living or guide them to their death. Each totem you will find unlocks the events of the past. something we'll get into once again much later in the video. While Jess and Mike were out, they'd find a deer that had recently been attacked and is on the verge of death. As they do the smart thing to inspect the dying creature, whatever had injured it drags it off, scaring the two. They would run into safety of the log cabin and conclude that it was a bear. Yes, Mike, that was a bear. And even if it was a bear, wouldn't that be like low-key worse? They go off on this little tangent where Jessica's like, dude, I've seen bears open up doors on the internet. And Mike is like, we're not in the internet, this is real life. And I'm sitting here like, brother in Christ, you guys are in a flimsy ass wooden log cabin with paper thin glass windows. You telling me you don't think a 400-pound furry tank can't bust through that if it truly wanted to? Since I'm the Riz master, I managed to get Jess naked quickly. Apparently, if you fail to make Jess comfortable enough throughout your ventures, you will have to kind of gaslight her to have sex with you, low-key. Kinda crazy, not looking good for Mike, but good thing I'm built all the way different. Before the deed could be done, Jess had lost her phone earlier when they were both being chased, and oh look, there goes her phone. All is well. I guess there is no reason to go outside. Oh my god.
Hey! Yeah, pricks! That means you! I know! You're out there. The fuck are you trying to do? You wanna ruin our fun that bad? Well, guess what? You can't! You can't ruin our good time because Michael and I are gonna fuck. That's right, we are going to have sex and it's gonna be hot. So enjoy it because I know we're going to.
Well, Jess, that was not very smart, was it? While the whole thing with Jess is going down, Chris and Ashley heed the warnings of the clues that left behind by either Beth or Hannah during the whole seance thing. Before Josh stormed off, Beth or Hannah had told the group that they were killed and that there's proof that lies within the library. So with nothing really else to do, Chris and Ashley venture down to find a nasty note left by the killer. Freaky shit starts to go down. Books flying off the shelves, doors start opening on their own. Then Ashley hears Josh screaming from the other room and goes to check it out, only to be yanked into the room. When Chris tries to play hero, he gets snugged and slept. Switching back to Mike, he obviously chases after Jess, grabbing the hunting rifle on his way out. Mike runs through the forest, but never quite sees the thing that dragged her off in the first place. But hey, at least she's still breathing. Things get super intense as this section you are forced to take the quicker routes in order to save Jess. If you take the safer and much slower route, Mike will be seeing a dead Jessica. Luckily for me, I handled the QTEs like a pro and we get to her just in time. Never mind. Wow, she's dead. She's dead. Mike thinking Jess was dead has very little time to mourn as he still has the person or the thing that carried her there to worry about. Shooting at something but ultimately missing, only to climb up to the top of the mineshaft entrance and see a hooded figure walking to the sanatorium.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Yuri Clark, and if you don't fucking subscribe, I'm gonna shark.
What?
If you guys enjoy what you're seeing here, if you guys enjoy the content and you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and hitting the bell below so that way you're notified when I post another YouTube video. I usually post on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and if I am not posting on a Tuesday, then I post on a Thursday at 11 a.m. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I stream quite a bit, and if you are interested in all of that and above, please support me. Support me through my membership. I post long, like super long gameplay videos of me where I just kind of play the whole game, and it will be ad free. So if you're tired of the ads on my video, that's one way to get around that, and you would be supporting me and also saving time for you as well. So let's get back to the video. I found myself all of a sudden rooting for Michael and Jessica to get out of that situation alive, which I laughed at myself for. I think that's the common experience within these type of movies or these type of experiences. The movie introduces a bunch of bratty characters with a few hidden gems within the group. Then there's means of transportation is removed, having the teens to have to survive or find a third-party help. And each of these movies, by the end, I always find myself rooting for them to get away or to get a good hit into the killer, no matter how shitty they were a few seconds ago at the beginning of the film. A good example of this is one of my favorite horror movies called House of Wax, a 2005 horror slasher film with the premise of a bunch of teens going out of state to a football game, a college football game at that, but then their car clocks out in the middle of nowhere. Without much else to do, they end up having to travel into the nearby town with a deadly pass. Now, the reason why this is one of my favorite horror movies and horror films, and why it's such a good example of Until Dawn, is because the characters, or should I say the character that fights back in both mediums. Spoiler warning ahead, if you're interested in the film, go watch it, come back to this video when you're done, or you could just skip ahead. It's really up to you. Within House of Wax, they come to find mostly everyone in that town is made of wax. They are humans that were killed, however they were killed, and then they were waxed alive. They're victims of the killer brothers, and these brothers are ruthless. Oftentimes, they are fine with sneak attacks, not caring whether or not you're a girl, and using that country folk hospitality to get close to people, and this works on mostly everyone in the film. Nick Jones is the Mike of this movie. He's the brother of the main girl who happens to be his sister. The siblings seem to have a past that unravels throughout the film, but one thing's for sure, if anyone decides to hurt the sister, he's gonna fight. In the beginning of the film, he is displayed as this bad boy jerk who had a run-in with the law sometime in the past, and more times than not, he's the main troublemaker of the group. But this same bastard of a character is the one you start to root for later in the film when he actually begins to make decent choices and starts to straight up fight the antagonist. Mike is the same way. He's shown to be a fuckboy jerkbag who doesn't mind playing with the girl's heart to stroke his own ego. Then low-key cheats on Jess with Emily in the start of the game there. But god damn it, are actions louder than words as he runs through the forest after Jess, putting himself in mortal danger to save someone else. It's heroic, and it's like all the shitty things he has done has now been washed away. Jesus guys, did I just go on a rant? Basically, bad boy cool when trying to save girl. Did that have to be a whole yap session, Yuri? Jesus. Anyway, it's Chris time. He's awakened from a nasty right hook, only to find that he has a thrashing headache and Ashley has gone missing. While searching for Ashley, he would come to find blood splattered all on the walls, and her items have been covered in blood. It's not looking so good, pal. Chris would find himself following a blood trail towards a lone shack in the woods. There, he is able to hear Ashley's cries. As he would go to investigate, he is put in a sick game straight out of Saw, as a giant saw blade would spin with the intent to kill. He'd be given the choice to either save his best friend Josh or his current crush Ashley. I think literally everyone who has played this video game for the first time for their first playthrough, they definitely chose Ashley to save. I mean, it just kind of makes sense in the narrative. But if not, goddamn, rip Chris. Because, you know, spoiler alert, if you don't, she just will not let you in and you will die. So it's kind of messed up. Ashley is obviously not very happy seeing one of her dear friends at least, cut into two. And as they stumble outside in hysteria, they bump into Matt and Em, who tell them to go to the lodge as they go to find some help. Back to Mike, he's busy playing Nathan Drake as he would go to follow the mysterious figure into the sanctuary, only to uncover even more dark secrets that tell the bigger story at hand. Apparently the tribe on the mountain warned the people about the mining project and how it could be dangerous, but the miners decided to still go through with it, and later a collapse that would transpire would go and trap 17 miners, I believe, and only 12 would make it out alive. Which makes this especially disgusting is that they knew for a fact that it was dangerous for the miners to continue mining there, and they still very much let them do so. Later, it is shown that when the miners were sent to the sanatorium for observation and evaluation, they were subjected to experiments and showed signs of cannibalism. All the while they tried to shield this from the public eye. This becomes very, 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 very important later on. And oh yeah, and Mike made a dog friend. I think I named him Dog, and then he blows up. So back to Matt and Emily, the mission was going to go ask for help, and logically they went to the cable car station. And can I just say, during the stream, I had it up to here. Up to here. I just don't know why I was so heated.
Never fit through there, big guy.
Dude, you go. Go through.
I won't fit, but you will.
Are
Go
you
through.
nuts? You're gonna shove my ass through that little hole?
I
I've seen
am.
you slip into some pretty tight jeans, Em.
Excuse me?
It's a talent.
Think again, lughead. No can do. For one thing, that maniac is probably just sitting there under that window waiting to blend us into pina coladas.
Okay, fine. Here goes.
Why does my choices not matter when it's Matt and Emily, bro? I'm getting so peeved, bro. She's like, hey, I'm gonna go down and I forgot to talk to Sam. I'm like, no, we're gonna go up to the lodge. She gaslights him. Again, I side with her. I get told to shut up. The game tells me you sided with Jessica. How? I told her to shut up. And then now here we are again. I tell her, no, you fit through that slot. She says no. Dude, I'm about to.
Anyways, but when they got there, everything has been destroyed. The killer knew that their only way down off this floating rock was this. And so, with no cell service and no way down, the group tries to remember what they could do until Matt finds a map showing a fire tower. Emily believes there's a good chance that there is a radio and insists that they must get there to phone for help. It's a good plan until they get attacked by curious deer. Also, fun fact, this is the exact location where the sisters fell to their deaths, so that's kind of a cool but also tragic callback because they were so close and yet so far. Now with the group nice and split up, we'll be switching from player to player. As to not drag this one any further, we're going to speed some things up, starting now. While everyone was out either getting cut in half or getting attacked by deer, Sam was in the bath, oblivious to it all, and the next target for the killer. She finally seems to sense someone's presence and notices her clothes has been taken. Thinking it's a joke, she checks the lodge for the pranksters, but unfortunately, it was no prank and becomes a tense chase scene. Of course, knowing me, I throw the shit out of that pot, completely killing the QTEs and make all the right choices for Sam to successfully get away, because I am a signal now. Turns out the deer were just curious, so as long as Matt and Emily stay calm, they couldn't care less about their presence, and with that they pass right through the herd and make it to the fire tower. After turning on the power and finding a flare gun, oh my fucking god, the flare gun. Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant for a while here, but the flare gun to this day still confuses the hell out of me. So like I said, the totems are meant to guide and help the players to make the right choices or to be weary in certain areas, right? So when I see a totem labeled guidance, yellow, and it's saying, hey, give the gun to Matt, why does this negatively affect me later? It has a negative consequence later down the road. I don't get it. I digress. Eventually, Matt and Em turn on the radio and actually does get someone to help them, but they won't be there until dawn.
He said it! He said it!
Not too long after, a mysterious arm breaks the single wire holding the fire tower, which makes it collapse with Matt and Em inside. Matt discovers Emily hanging off the edge and in some need of some serious help, and instead of asking for help, she starts to belittle the man and argue with him that he never listens to a word she says. Yeah, buddy, I'll see you on the flip side. I was going purely off of emotions at that point, so I did kind of feel bad for just leaving her like that, but what's done is done. Emily's fate remains a bit unknown because now we are playing as Ashley and Chris as they look for Sam. We know she isn't at the lodge anymore because she's safe and sound somewhere, but they don't know that, so they look all over the lodge, getting spooked at every turn. While everyone else is dealing with like an actual threat, with Chris and Ashley it just felt like someone was purposely trying to mess with their heads. Candles setting themselves on fire, doors opening on its own, ghosts walking around, dollhouse replicants displaying the events of the past, and finally finding Sam. Or at least a dummy dressed as Sam.
Oh shit! No! Get
When the two awake, they are met with another Saw-inspired contraption. This time, Chris is given a gun and has to choose who he will save and who will die. And once again, we are left on a banging cliffhanger. So, that's cool. We won't know for a while if my choices got the two of them killed because we switch back to Sam. Since she was never caught by the killer, she is able to roam free in his workshop, and the thing she finds is shocking. Okay, not really. Like anyone with a brain and who has watched this type of genre before could kind of see this coming from a mile away, but still, it was very interesting. While looking around, Sam would come to find blueprints of a fake body contraption. Also that Josh has taken the loss of his sisters quite heavily, and for a full year has been seeing many professionals and has even been put on countless medications. And reading on some of those withdrawals, it is really sad, to be honest.
You're gonna see Josh in half. Bro. Confidentiality. Joshua Washington, final psychiatric evaluation. Dr. Hill. So he is real. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what's... Okay, these are a bunch of referrals. Damn, this nigga's been referred to everywhere. Oh my gosh. This man needs some help. He's been prescribed fluoxetine. Fluoxetine. I don't know what that is. Duloxetine. I don't know what that is. Amitriptyline and amitriptyline. Who's making these words? Physizine. I don't know how to say these. So it says if the patient reports any of the following symptoms, please contact a physician immediately. And it says side effects: hypotension. So I think that's like heart or some heart problems, blurred vision, dizziness, insomnia, vomiting, diarrhea, muscle tremors, and liver damage. Hepatitis. On withdrawal, nausea, insomnia, nightmares, ignitation. What is that? Hallucinations, paranoia, aggressiveness, slurred speech. Yeah, this dude... Oh, bro, Josh was not taking his meds. Yup. This nigga's not taking his meds. His man's tripping.
I haven't said this explicitly yet, that Josh is indeed still alive and is shown to be the killer. Yeah, the twist, he was behind everything. Or was he? Well, Mike certainly seems to think so. Did I also mention that Ashley and Chris are still good too? Yeah, they're good. They just have lifelong PTSD because they thought they were gonna die a few seconds ago. But it's all fun and games. It was a prank, guys. It was a prank. Hey, look, Emily's still alive too. Look at that. Everybody's still alive. That's great. She has fallen down into the mines. With a busted leg, she would stumble her way through the caves until finally finding a very tragic truth. Where Hannah and Beth had fallen down at the start of the game, well, Hannah didn't quite die from the fall and was down there for about a month before she resorted to eating her already dead sister. Emily would find markings on a nearby stone, Beth's grave, and most graphic, Beth's head. Not good. All the while, Emily can hear a battle going on somewhere else deeper in the mines, and whatever is happening over there, it is not human. She would come to find a man, the same man that Mike was chasing after and had the cute dogs. He seems to be the one spewing all this fire and fighting against whatever it is. Seemingly trying to save him, he would tell her to run and use the flares to light her way out of here. Meanwhile, the group deals with Josh's shenanigans. Confused on who to blame, Mike fully believes Josh was the one who snatched up Jess and got her killed. And the others don't really know what to believe and kind of just side with Mike. This is kind of becoming a spitting image of what happened so far back in the past. I'm only now realizing this. So let me paint a picture, right? Mike is known to be Mr. Club President. He's known to be Mr. Popular, Mr. Smarts and looks. He's meant to be popular. At the beginning of the game, we don't see the lead up to it. We can only read and infer through sections of the game of what actually happened and why they were there in the first place. But in my headcanon, I believe that Mike is a bit of a flirt. Mike likes to flirt, and he probably flirted with Hannah. And when Hannah started showing signs of interest, I think he told the girls, and the girls said, "Oh my God, what are you going to do?" And I don't think he conducted the plan, but he was fully good with just writing it out. He was fully good with being a participant, the main runner, the main subject, the main piece of the puzzle for this to work out the way it works out. And I'm kind of getting flashbacks here where everyone doesn't really know that Josh is to blame for all of this. They kind of just think so. Mike should know. Mike's seen how unhumanistic that thing moved and dragged Jess away. And so he's going purely off of instinct of, I'm going to blame you for killing my girlfriend. And everyone's kind of just like, okay, I guess this makes sense. I don't know. It's just kind of like it's a weird full circle of showing that these are the same people that got Hannah and Beth killed for the same exact reason. And they just need to figure out that the bystander syndrome is still as bad as the, actual person doing the pranking. Going back to Emily, she does in fact run and encounters whatever the hell this is. Again, destroying the QTEs like a pro, Emily is able to get away somewhat. She ends up getting bit in the process, bringing me back to the flare gun rant. Why did the game tell me to give it to Matt if I could have used it to have saved her from getting bit and then not being a suspect when she got back to the group? Not wanting to beat an already dead horse, Emily successfully makes it to the ski lodge and tells the group that there's a monster outside. Of course, everyone believes that Josh was behind everything and tells her she's just confused. But she stands her ground and insists until someone knocks on the door that calls everyone's attention. After a failed plan conducted by Chris and Mike to protect the home, the stranger from earlier makes his appearance and informs the strangers of what's really happening here, saying that the spirit of the Wendigo runs rampant and that they only hunt at night, adding more details that if a man or a woman were to resort to cannibalism on the mountain, the person they would be would cease to exist and would be replaced with a killing machine. Suddenly, everything begins to make sense. The miners were trapped for days and resorted to eating the dying. causing them to be restrained and even experimented on in a sanatorium. And those who knew that the mine was a trap tried to keep it a secret, but had no idea what exactly they were messing with. And most tragically, Beth's head with no body, implying that Hannah had eaten her body and could possibly be a Wendigo roaming about at this very moment. Mike remembers that he left Josh tied up in the shed as he heard screaming and rushed back and didn't think monsters were about. Then the stranger says, well, he's long dead now. Chris refuses to believe this and wants to at least make sure his friend isn't there, and so the stranger says if he goes alone then he'll surely die, so he'll be coming with. Chris gets some smooches on his way out and then goes to rescue Josh. Things don't go well at all.
Gotta get out of here! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
Well, that escalated super quickly. The group, having to flee to the basement for safety, tries to figure out their next move. Chris tells everyone it's no joke out there and that they need to leave now. Mike wants to go back to the cable car, but of course Josh has the goddamn key, and with Josh gone, there's no way out. Emily says there may be a way to get to the mines if they go through where she came from. So with that, Mike says fuck it, he's gonna go down there, find Josh's body dead or alive, and get the cable key and getting everyone the hell out of here. And I'm sitting here like, brother, guys, did we not just learn that the killer is technically no one? It was all fake from Josh. And then the stranger just said that these things, these Wendigos, only like to hunt at night. And also Emily says that someone's going to be there until dawn. So I'm sitting here like, why don't you just wait 5 more hours, hold up in the basement? But instead, everyone freaks out about Emily getting bit and threatens to kill her. But of course, Mike couldn't go through with it. But hey, it's all good because the stranger dude said that the bite isn't what changes the person. So that's a good thing, right?
I understand. Understand the palm of my hand, bitch.
Oh. Never mind. While everyone cools off in their own corner, Sam figures out something that's bad news for Mike and tells everyone to come quick or he's as good as dead. What information that is, I have no idea. Mike ventures deep into the mines and surely finds exactly what we all expected. Lots and lots of Wendigos. Like, a lot of them. Like, to the point where I was getting a little too used to their presence. But with an explosion, Mike goes on like a 4 Wendigo killing streak, and I save the dog with my A1 decision making. Let's fucking go. Truth be told, I would have quit the game if anything happened to that dog. And oh, guess what? Jess is alive. Hell yeah. Now where the hell is Matt? That's the only other question we have here. We don't get to find that out just yet as we switch back to the main group as they make their way through the sewers to try to catch up with Mike. Sam and the group would come across a rock. Sam believes she'd be able to climb that wall and advises everyone just to go around and they'd meet up again. And just in the nick of time, Sam would come to find Mike dealing with a Wendigo that didn't quite die from the explosion. And with a swift assist, Sam takes his head clean off. I love the fact that they keep it consistent with the fact that most of the time Wendigos are pretty indestructible. They have pretty tough armor, but with fire it kind of melts that armor away and makes them extremely weak durability wise. After saving Mike, the two of them continue forward with their plan to find Josh and the cable car key. But unfortunately, bro is not in the greatest of mindsets right now. His withdrawal symptoms are in full effect. Some sections of the game I've been skipping over for a while now for some time are these therapy session scenes. Before the killer was revealed to have been Josh, we have these sections where the game is almost asking the player what we fear most and who we like the most. If you choose needles, they'd appear right in front of that desk. If you don't like gore, well, there's going to be gore hanging from the ceiling. Later on, we come to figure out that we are playing as Josh, or at least we are in Josh's mind. Dr. Hill is a very real person and someone who used to evaluate Josh, but this is not the Dr. Hill presently, just someone Josh, I guess, correlates to his mental health. It's all quite sad within these sections. It's possible for Josh to choose himself for someone he's most scared of or someone he most dislikes. And with Dr. Hill lashing out at him, it's really just Josh lashing out at himself, blaming himself for his sister's death. I digress. Homie's going through it, and in his reality begins to merge the death of his sisters taking physical form, the pigs he slaughtered to stage his little coup, and even a Wendigo making its appearance. Wait, Josh, that one might actually be real. As Sam and Mike continue forth in search of Josh, they would have to cross a body of water that may or may not have a Wendigo stalking them. Before the Wendigo could get to them, Sam would find a journal of some kind, showing Hannah's final words, and implies her transformation took place while she was writing the note, as she can write nothing but how hungry she is. Mike and Sam actually do find Josh, who is literally tripping balls, but one good slap from Mike brings him right back to the land of the living, obtaining the key, and Sam climbing up to yet another wall to get back to the lodge. Mike and Josh are forced to go around, separating the three. Remember that Wendigo I talked about just earlier? Well, yeah, it snatches up Mike and goes for Josh. But since we found the right amount of clues, Josh was able to tell it was Hannah from her tattoo, so she doesn't kill him right on the spot. While this is happening, Mike is pulling a go on versus Boo and lets him get took. Med time! Y'all thought he was dead, huh? Yeah, I thought he was dead. Well, he actually might have died if Jess actually managed to strike him. Jess, realizing who it was, breaks down in tears from all the pain and suffering she just went through, and Matt helps her get out of the mines. They end up getting chased by a Wendigo, but hiding is always the best option, because Jess is not in the mindset nor the physical capacity to run away. With a couple tense scenes later, Matt and Jess make it out alive, safe and sound. Switching back to Sam, she climbs the wall and can feel Wendigos all around her and hurries to the lodge just to see that it's locked shut. Mike scares her and tells her that they need to hurry. Yeah, no shit, bruh. It's like when you're focusing and your teacher calls your name and tells you to stay focused. Like, nigga, what was I doing before? Anywho, once the crew gets in, everyone is running in the opposite direction and run to meet the group, but everyone is frozen solid. At this section, while the Wendigos were fighting, they caused a gas leak from falling into the fire pit or whatever. Mike thinks to break the bulb and expose the wire, so when he flips the switch on, kabloomies. So you must successfully stay still and let each person one by one run out of the lodge before blowing it up. These scenes look intense and fucking badass as Sam runs out of the house, getting saved by Hannah and finally killing the Wendigo. Notice how I said seemed. Just watch.
What is happening? I see what you're thinking, Mike, but don't do it. I don't want everybody to blow up. Why are you nodding? What are you talking? Why are you saying yes? Oh. Oh. Is that Hannah? I got her killed, dog! Oh, Sam! Oh, no! No! Oh!
And with that, dawn is reached and rescue arrives and the game ends. But oh shit, Josh is turning into a half Wendigo now. You guys, I might have a problem with yapping. So, it's been an hour, and I said, let's quickly recap the game. and it's been an hour. Anyway, let's get into what the entire reasoning of this video was even being created. Why the hell did Until Dawn work? What happened? Like I said at the beginning, I'm calling it to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, and everything seems to work out plan method thing. And I'm gonna kind of base my whole video off of that method, because I truly do think that is mainly why I think Until Dawn was so good. So just loosely basing it, loosely talking about it, what the things I want to talk about, and then I'm gonna get into more details afterwards, right? Because right now I just want to rant, I just want to talk about it. But what I mean by that, or what I said earlier, is that when I was watching the game, because I didn't play the game before literally a week or two ago at this point, but when I watched the game, I had always loved the fact that I didn't know what was happening. And I think I might be a little biased. I think my biased brain might be getting in the way of things, because I truthfully didn't know what the Wendigo was. I've never heard of a Wendigo, and even if I did, it was very loosely. And when it came out, I was about 14, maybe 15, and I didn't really have a massive big brain. I didn't get into it just yet, so everything was brand new, everything was awesome, everything was cool. So that, on top of graphics, on top of me not being able to understand it, because I would watch a lot of anime, and I think at that point I was getting to a point where every time I would watch an anime, I would only watch the 3-episode rule. I started implementing the 3-episode rule. If it doesn't hook me in the first 3 episodes, or if I know what's gonna happen, I can dip out. Until Dawn was just like that until it wasn't. Because imagine the first 3 episodes just being, oh, there's a killer on the loose, there's a flamethrower guy, and there's something happening. It's weird. And then when you play as Emily in that first mine and you see it and it screams, it's scary. It's really, really scary. And so when you look at it, and you're starting to be like, okay, they're just throwing everything at the wall, right? You have the stereotypical, I think, 8 friends, and then there's like 1 black guy, right? Stereotypical cast of characters where it's just a big group of characters, maybe 1 like ethnic girl, maybe 1 like black guy, you know what I'm saying? And then the rest of them are Caucasian, right? And then they all, like I said, they look way older than what they really are, and they act way older than what they are. Where are the parents? What are they doing up there, right? Things you gotta kind of have to infer, like, oh, okay, wait, they're there for a celebration because the parents are rich as fuck, so they're gonna send them up on a mountain where people are known to be sleeping in the cable car. Anyway, I digress. So you have that, right? So you have kind of like the Blair Witch Project almost like situation where you're just out in the woods, a bunch of people don't know, and then there's a killer on the loose. You don't know if it's one of your people. You don't know if it's someone else entirely. You don't know if it's supernatural. And so you have the Blair Witch Project kind of like situation, right? And then you start splitting the characters off, right? And then so we have Mike, and Mike is going back into like the slasher film horror stuff, right? Like kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it, but him like chasing after it. I think I had already used it, like House of Wax, right? Where you're literally given the chance to fight against the killer. So you're getting that like, okay, badass relatability, motivation slasher film where it's not just running away and getting murdered, but there's actually a chance that you could get out of there because you're fighting back. So you have that, and then you have like the in the past and all that other good stuff, and then you have and then you switch, right? You have Emily and Matt, and then they are getting attacked by something way more supernatural. You're like, what is going on? You see an arm, they're down below, especially Emily is getting attacked by something super supernatural, right? Something along the lines of werewolves, Bigfoot, Wendigo, right? And then you go back to Ashley and Chris, and Ashley and Chris are like in Paranormal Activity. It's like something like straight out of like the Conjuring or something, right? You're just like having books fly off. It looks more spiritual, more evil spirit oriented. And then all of that is just thrown out the window. everything I just said doesn't matter because none of it's real. And I love that, because when it's shown to be Josh, behind everything, then it starts to make sense. Now, what was a flaw and what could have been a trend of just a bunch of stereotypical things you would see in horror movies makes sense, because when you look around the house with Josh and whoever you're playing, you see that the father was an esteemed horror film creator, right? And then they're super rich about it. And then even if you look around the ski lodge, there's an entire theater just there. You never really know why. They're like, okay, there's just a theater, but it's because the father was a filmmaker, and so it trickled down to the son, and he, I guess, and has it in his blood that he knew how to do, horror oriented special effects. So that's why his inspirations probably were from The Conjuring. His inspirations probably were from different slasher films, from the design of what he was wearing with the mask to the books flying off and candles turning on and ghosts walking around, poltergeists walking around, and like horror oriented like movie cuts, edits, and him recording everything as like a revenge porn plot line thing. It's really cool because all the faults, all the flaws make sense now because Josh was inspired by it. And you're just like, whoa. But then you really start thinking, well, what happened with Mike and Emily and Matt? Like, what happened with that? Brother in Christ? That is something entirely different, and that's what I loved about it. I believe that was what I truly remember feeling. Like there was never a way that I knew it was happening. As soon as Josh took it off, I had no doubt in my mind it was Josh. Now we're at the end of the game. Maybe Josh is gonna get out and he starts going crazy. But then Emily comes home and shakes up the entire house. Everyone's like, dog, you're good. It was Josh. It was Josh. Emily's like, no, bro. I got attacked by something far from human. You need to understand that. And so then you get this whole different thing. So you're like, well, I guess. Or like, then you start remembering what when you were playing with Mike and Emily, and you're like, well, there was all this information about the tribes telling the people not to go into the mines, and then the mines collapsing in the sanatorium. What's up with that bloody chair? And the note where he was like, I'm living in my own hell of my own creation. You're like, what is all that about? I don't get it. Then you see the video where the guy literally transforms and climbs up the fucking wall like Spider-Man. And you're like, oh, we ain't dealing with no ghosts or Bigfoot. This is something else. This is something different. This is something real. And that's when I think the indigenous dude, I don't know if he was a part of the tribe, but the guy who was hunting the Wendigo, he came down and was like, yeah, so this is what's happening. You're like, and you're just sitting here, you're like, it makes even more sense. That, and then it kind of creates this like deviation of, it's really hard for you to grasp what's happening on a blind playthrough, because you're too busy trying to figure out the whole situation with Josh, that in your blind spot, there's something entirely different happening. They're building up to the Wendigo. They're building up to the reveal. They're building up to all this being fake. From all the little clues that you could find, it becomes a little mystery. And I think that is truly why I love this game. Because from the mystery, you start putting it together. You see a broken camera. You see fake newspaper clippings talking about the indigenous tribes, and then you see something that contradicts, because then, Josh's mother is actually trying to get on the good side. So you're like, oh, so it wasn't a stranger at large trying to kill Hannah and Beth. So you're like, okay, but who's really to blame? And then it gets even deeper when you see that Beth's head is just there, no body, just a head. You see Hannah's glasses. You don't know where Hannah is. Where's Hannah's body? Oh my gosh, my thing just turned off. I was yapping too much. But yeah, you do all these things and you're like, well, what could really be happening? And then the guy comes in and he's like, Yeah, so the Wendigo lives on this mountain. They only hunt at night. You guys were here last year at night. Your friends died. I tried to save them. You start having flashbacks. Oh, you're the dude. He was watching. You were out. And then this also ties into the events of the past, where we can, every time you get all the totems, you unlock something brand new. And I'm actually probably just gonna play it right now, Yuri, because I mean, I forgot to play it earlier, so this could be a good way. So I didn't unlock all of it. I missed some totems, but people out there have, and this is the full story that you get. But anywho, so all that saying, and then that's when he dies, right? Chris comes back. He's like, whoa, it's not looking good out there. And then you learn about all the stuff about the Wendigo. How the Wendigo, you have to burn it off to kill them. That explains why he carries around a flamethrower. He's saying, don't kill the Wendigo or the spirit will run rapid. How you turn into a Wendigo, you have to cannibalize. That explains what we heard about the mind. 16 people came, or yeah, 6 people went in, 12 people came out. What happened? They ate 4 of their individuals, and those who ate them were relatively fine. You know, obviously traumatic for them, but then they began to change, and that's when the whole sanatorium came about. And that is also why in the sanatorium is where most of the Wendigos lie, because that's probably where they were just left there until he decided that he was going to put them in a chain. And it's amazing, every last bit of it. It's weird. It's one of those things where it's like, you ever flip a pencil and it just fucking like the I don't know, the gravitational plane of the earth just is so perfect at that single moment that it just stands erected on its eraser. You're like, how did I do that? Oh my gosh. I think that is exactly what's happening with the Until Dawn. I think it was in the which in way it was or it was in which the way it was paced and shown to its viewers, right? You had people coming in as this stereotypical flick of a slasher, so your expectations go from up here all the way down here, right? You're like, okay, what silly game are we getting into? Is this some Life is Strange shit, or is it gonna get, you know, cool? You know, you hear the dialogue, it's all robotic, but then it becomes a charm. It becomes something that you start enjoying. You start laughing at the dialogue, at how absurd it could get. You start laughing at how terrible the people are, the needless jump scares. It's like, it's literally bringing you all the way down here. And then when you play as Mike and when Jess gets dragged off, things get serious. And then when it switches to Emily, things get even more serious. When you see that monstrosity, you see the way it moves, it climbs on all fours, it screams, it's loud, it's very, very viscerally loud, it's scary. And I think it really just like subverts your expectations, and then it brings it all the way up here. It brings me back to something my dad told me to do, right? He actually told me a couple things in my life that I always abide from, and it works out perfectly here, right? He said, under promise, over deliver. A lot of games nowadays over promise and under deliver. Time and time again, Cyberpunk 2077 is actually one of the better ones, where they'll say, this is going to be the next GTA, this is going to be the best thing ever, and then it comes out and is buggy to shit. Obviously they did put their head down and play it, and like fix all the bugs, made it a little better. Still nothing compared to GTA personally, right? And then you have games like Fallout 76 where dude is like, this is gonna be 6 times as big as the original game, and then you get into it and you're like, well, it is 6 times as big, but a lot of it is just vacant, you know, wasteland. It kind of sucks actually. So it's like, over promising and under delivering is the worst thing you can do. But Until Dawn under promised and over delivered. Had a fantastic story. It made you fall in love with the characters. It had really good choices. It really did feel like your choices did matter. Maybe not to the extent of Detroit Become Human, but it did make your choices matter. So I say all that to say, I think that is exactly why Until Dawn seems to work. But there are some things that I do want to get into and really explain and tell you why I love it. And right now, I can't just spitball it. I'm going to need to definitely write a script. So I'm going to go write the script real fast because I'm still doing this ongoing. But let's go into, I think we're going to get into the characters. So I'll see ya. Firstly, I'm gonna talk about the characters. I kind of touched on this earlier in the video, but the characters I feel do a lot of the heavy lifting within the narrative. In my opinion, what makes a story enjoyable are three major components within a story: the character writing, the story's pacing, and the originality or a new perspective on an already used genre or a trend. What Until Dawn does surprisingly well is showing just how bad their main cast is from the jump. They don't try to make their shitty characters have some good traits to even the scale, but instead use the group friends as the balancing scale. What do I mean by this? So for example, if we were to draw a 3-column chart and label them good, middle group, and bad group, all of the friends would be able to fit somewhere on that chart. Sam, she's good. She's shown from the very beginning to not really want to prank Hannah in the very first place and even tries to stop it. Ashley, Matt, and Mike are in the middle ground. They're bystanders. They don't show outwardly any animosity, but there are times where you look at them questionably. Ashley when wanting to kill Emily, Matt when he left Emily to die, and Mike when he was about to shoot Emily. Maybe Emily just has that effect on people. I have no clue. Then we have the bad. Jess and Emily are the bad, pranking their best friend and never truly taking accountability for their actions. But within a normal story, through the narrative, they'd start to see the error of their ways. They will start to begin to grow as people. But no, everything I said about each and every one of them remain the same, even at the very end of the game. Sam, she's still an overall good person who has bystander syndrome at times. Mike can be the worst, but even still, he would gladly put himself in harm's way to protect everyone. Matt is a gentle giant and sometimes can be a bit reserved, making him a bystander as well. And Jess is a good person to those she likes and is just absolutely terrible to those she dislikes. And Emily is the same way, only liking people she likes, but constantly creates problems within the group, i.e. Jess, Ashley, and Matt. Ashley is similar to Matt where she's a bit reserved, but she just follows the masses, and Chris was always exempt from the others, and he felt like he was just really there for Josh and only tolerated the other people. That's more than likely why he chose to just drink with Josh that night the sisters died and didn't really care about all the drama. None of these characters ever had that 180 moment where they take full responsibility for their parts in the deaths of the sisters and only continue down their path of bad habits, dying hard, just as it would be in real life. It would need to be a conscious decision for change to come about and not some traumatic experience that has each and every character knowing exactly what they did wrong and what they need to do better to become a better person. And these flaws perfectly catapults us right into my next point, which is the story, the pacing, and basically the mysteries and the connections. The characters and their decisions make sense. From the start of the game, there was a looming mystery all throughout the game. Wanted posters, articles talking about the tribe dude being a suspect, and the whole killer thing where Josh had left that note for Chris and Ashley to find. It doesn't make sense, which makes sense. While an actual story was unfolding, a list of fabricated storylines by Josh was also underway. When finishing the game, you begin to think about how good Josh was at playing the part because he knew his friends best, which is actually really sad when you think about it. Josh, more than anyone, knew that inviting people back up to the lodge was going to be tense. He was probably betting on it being the case, wanting to separate everyone and truly get his revenge. But that brings us to our first question. Why? And when I mean why did he choose to zero in mainly on Ashley, Chris, and Sam? He took the opportunity to get Jess and Mike out of the way when they were largely the two most prominent figures in his sister's death, and let Emily and Matt do whatever it is that they were going to do But why? The only person out of the three that deserved it to some degree was Ashley, but Sam tried to warn Hannah and Chris was knocked the hell out. He wasn't even there, a part of the prank. Well, that's an easy answer, and it also makes me fall in love with the game even further. Josh is off his meds. He wanted too many things and it all became a jumbled mess because within his mind, that's exactly what it was, a jumbled mess. He wanted revenge on those he thought killed his sisters. He strangely wanted to help his best friends get the balls to tell the girl that his friend likes his true feelings, and also wanted to make a YouTube video, a stardom. He wanted to flex his filmmaking skills. Everything was just jumbled from the start. But that only adds to the mystery of what's happening, and when the reveal does happen, it makes so much sense that it didn't make sense because the guy in charge of the scary stuff is just using every major horror trend known to man to make it as scary as possible. This on top of playing as Mike and Emily and finding out about the mines and that whole thing, all the while finding totems and unlocking events of the past. It makes for a surprisingly hard and intriguing mystery as you try to figure out what's actually happening, so that way you can do your best to keep everyone alive. And finally, I want to touch on the originality portion. And when I say originality, I put these in quotations because the word originality is just so funny to me. For as long as art has been around, someone before you has had that exact same idea and maybe even implemented it into their art. Have you ever been just scrolling through Instagram and you come across the life meme and that's a tad bit too close to home? Yeah, even your life isn't so original. So when people say that they don't like something because it's not original enough, or they just start judging it and comparing it to the inspiration, I think that's just plain dumb. Until Dawn took that notion and turned it on its head, everything was generic, all the way up until Josh is revealed to be behind everything. And then they mixed two separate genres and merged it into one. Until Dawn took a murder mystery, historical horror, slasher film, and finally a horror fiction and gave the players a ride of their life. The cherry on top of the game was definitely the introduction of the Wendigo. In 2014, or even before that, there was many great horror games that had come out. Titles like The Evil Within, Dying Light, Alien Isolation, The Forest, etc. While all these games are great in their own right, and I can't say anything wrong about them, they all had a similar antagonist, a threat: zombies, humans, aliens. But when Until Dawn came out and was shown that a human being was the biggest threat, it was a great surprise to see a folklore representation take effect and blend in seamlessly within the narrative. So the Wendigo is from a mythological creature made from the First Nations in North America, and it's a symbol of the dangers of selfishness and isolation, and it's a cautionary tale that you would tell your kids about the importance of community, right? It's talking about don't be too selfish, or you'll end up becoming a monstrous being who's doomed to be hungry for all eternity. It's kind of similar to like what you would tell your kids about, like I think Krampus, is that his name? Or it's like the opposite of Santa, where it was like, hey, if you're a bad kid, you're gonna be on the naughty list. You might even get on the Krampus list, or you might be like, something similar as the boogeyman, in which if you do something wrong, the boogeyman's gonna get you. So I think that is pretty much what this is, but also not really. It's just kind of something I want to, compare and contrast, just because I believe the Wendigo is up there with like the Skinwalker. Within those tribes, you don't talk about it. Everybody knows what it is. They truly believe that it's true, like, it's real, and it could be, I don't know. But whatever it is, it's the golden rule. If you think you see something strange, like a shapeshifter or a Wendigo or anything like it, anything that's like evil spirit oriented, don't talk about it. They all know it's real. We all know it's there. Just do your best to not look at it. And I think Until Dawn does that perfectly, because the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, so the Washingtons bought out that mountain, and the tribes for years now were telling them, hey, it's probably not a good idea for you to mine here. Nature's pretty sacred in our belief system, so probably don't do that. And when they did it anyway, it looked like, I guess, greed and selfishness, which also ties into the Wendigo bit because of that. And they just wanted whatever materials without any consequences. They were the main cause for the Wendigo to run rampant on those mountains for so long. But it also makes you wonder, like, okay, did the tribes tell them, hey, there might be a mythological creature up there, you probably shouldn't go mining up there? And did they choose to just not heed the warnings? I don't know. But if it were that case, it would lead into what the Wendigo even embodies, which is isolation, greed, and it's a cautionary tale at the end of the day. And I also love how they made it come to life, because when you look up a Wendigo online, and it looks more like a stag, right? It has the horns of a stag but a body of a man, and has claws and whatnot. But then when you go to Until Dawn, it's something else. I don't know, but it's scary. It's like, it looks human enough, but it's just uncanny enough to where you're like, that's not a human. Whatever happened to it, it's weird. And so it takes the appearance of it, right? So the appearance can vary, obviously, but oftentimes it's described as this giant and hideous creature with sharp fangs and claws, sunken or glowing eyes, and lips that are chewed or missing, because they're hungry. So they probably chewed their own lips off at that point. And so when you look at the Wendigo, it looks just like that. Huge fangs, strong ashes, or not strong, but like thin bones, but like immense amount of power. The skin is stretched, the claws are long, the fangs have grown in, the eyes are just not there. It's like hungry all the time. And also the Wendigo is associated with the winter, famine, gluttony, cannibalism, and that also ties into Until Dawn. The way you even become a Wendigo is you must be isolated enough on the mountain during winter, and when you give in to famine and to being as hungry as you can get, you eat something or someone, bada bing bada boom, you can become a Wendigo, forced to hunt and eat and never be satisfied, which is cool. I love it. And I think that is the main reason why I have such a, I don't know, it was just so fun to see Until Dawn, put it on the big screen, introduce me to like literally the most basic, most superficial details about the Wendigo. And then after the fact, I'm like, I was really banging with the Wendigo. I really liked the monster as an idea. And obviously when going into it, you start learning about other indigenous tribe, like folklore, like the skinwalker, something I mentioned earlier, which is basically just a shapeshifter, right? And it works like, I don't know how it works, but I think if you see it, it'll follow you for the rest of your life. But it, shapeshifts, so you don't really know, and it kind of plays with your head. It can mimic what you're saying. Like I said, it might be a different video for a different day, but I think that's the big reason why Until Dawn did so well, is because with its counterparts, it had monsters, zombies, it had historical horror where it's like, oh, the horrors of World War II, what if this happened, right? But then Until Dawn came out, and it was a whole different ball game, because it was an indigenous folklore, which kind of just made you open your eyes up to something brand new. And the way they did it wasn't like cultural appropriation, but more appreciation, where it just like, it didn't take it like from like having like an overuse of like stags, and it wasn't like super monsters doing these diabolical things. It was more so like a cautionary tale. It was like, hey, we know these monsters are scary, but these monsters would have never been monsters if they heed the warnings of the indigenous people who lived up there on that mountain and knew that they probably shouldn't do it. So then at the end of the day, it was like, okay, so we were the catalyst. We fucked around and we found out. It's that chart. The more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out. But at the end of the day, Until Dawn is a cautionary tale. I feel like when people play Until Dawn, they like to look at the Wendigo as the main thing that drives me or drives people towards it. They like the Wendigo. They like the based game in terms of like decisions. They like the butterfly effect function. But for me, I think at the very end of the game, what I kept thinking of after the fact was a game actually showing the dangers of bystander syndrome. And what I mean by this is, if you really think about the game, everything that happens is bystander syndrome. It's just people in power doing something with the most influence, and those around them kind of just stare off and look away and don't really do much. If we want to go all the way back, even before the main cast, we have the tribe members telling the miners not to do it. Now, what's interesting is when Mike goes down into the sanatorium, there's a guy who has written like a note as he starves to death in like a room. And he's like, I've created a hell and now I'm going to die from my own creations. I personally absolutely love this because it's the first thing that we see where things could have ended differently if someone just spoke up about the mining project. Because it wasn't a mystery that that mine was going to collapse and those people were going to be trapped in there for 30 days and have to eat each other just to survive and get out of there, right? If someone had spoke up, this never would have happened, but it does happen. And then we can fast forward all the way back to when Mike pranked Hannah. I don't think everyone wanted to do it, right? We had Sam voicing her opinions. Are you guys sure it's a good idea? You know, then you have Ashley, who has great remorse after her actions. You have Matt, who has great remorse. You have Mike, who has great remorse. But at the end of the day, I think Until Dawn is really just about bystander syndrome. A lot of things that could end if maybe more people voiced their opinions. If the miners never went in there, never would have been any Wendigos. If Hannah and Mike actually talked about it and it wasn't just like a full group of people running with it. If Josh, bro, like going even further into the game, when Josh was shown to be the killer, it would make sense for multiple people to ask for this and be like, how did you kill Jess? How are you so fast? Or how did you fucking cut the wire off the goddamn fire tower when Matt and Emily, forgot that name, and Emily were in it? How did you do all these things so quickly? Like, what's going on? But instead, they see the rage and the fury of Mike, and people kind of just go with it. They're like, oh yeah, you're the one who did that, you know? You're the one apparently who can drag a 100-pound girl seamlessly for miles while someone is running full speed and you still can't catch up to them. Bystander syndrome, right? They all kind of just sat idly by and they were like, hey, I guess he did it, right? And I think it's a pretty interesting game when like the focus is like, I don't know, a mystical creature. And the thing that struck me most was like seeing that these people aren't understanding that they are to blame, even if they didn't make the Wendigos, even if they didn't quite contribute to it, they didn't stop it either. And I started this video off when I talked about Sam, where I was like, she isn't blameless either. Everyone loves Sam because Sam is a good person, but at the end of the day, if she truly cared for Hannah more than what was displayed, she would have been like, guys, you guys are being a fucking assholes. Let's stop this shit right now. This doesn't make sense. But instead, she goes and tries to find her, but doesn't. And then, well, that led to their deaths. And then when they run out, they see that Hannah ran out. And Mike is like, yo, should I like chase her or something? And then Sam's like, I think she's the last I think you're the last person she wants to see. Nigga, do you want her to die? It's a blizzard, bro. You gotta go out there and search for her. I digress. That is the main thing. So I leave this all to say, actually, no, I'm not about to end it off like that. No, I really want to get vulnerable with you guys. I always love sharing little life snippets. And I think the reason why I love this is because it's something that I'm glad that I found myself breaking out of when I was younger. So when I was younger, I think I said this in a previous video, I had homophobic tendencies, right? Everyone and their mom would say the F slur. Everyone and their mom would say gay as like it's a derogatory term, right? Like it's a bad thing. And of course, me being a kid, I followed suit. But I don't know what happened, but there was just one day where it all just felt shameless, I guess. It just felt not good. When we were in a music hall, I remember this, was 7th grade. And it was this dude. I'm not gonna say names because I can't remember names, but I'm gonna call him T because I know that's what his name started with. So we had T, and then we had D. D was gay, and D also had like a really bald cut. And what they would do back, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but what they would do back in middle school is that every time someone got a fresh cut, whether it was a fade or a bald head cut, they would slap the shit out of your head. And your head would be piping hot because you just got your shit slapped. And they'll be like, I grilled your shit, because they warmed your face, warmed your head up. Anyway, they were doing that to him. I wasn't really friends with D, but I was also not friends with T either. And I was kind of just in the middle of it. He grilled the shit out of him. They did it again and again. They did it 3 times. And the guy got up and got mad and was like, stop doing that shit. And then obviously T, he was a short guy. Actually, now that I think about it, motherfucker was short. I don't know why he was a bully, but he got up and he just started pushing the dude all throughout the chairs. So like to like, I guess, kind of imagine it. So we're in like an auditorium, but the auditorium has fold up chairs. I went to a ghetto ass school. It doesn't matter. So they have fold up chairs. And so he was able to pick him up and just like push him all throughout the chairs, because they were foldable chairs. And then he finally hits a wall, and then he just starts hitting him right in the head. And every time he would hit him, his head would bounce off the wall and go right back into him. So it was just like bop boom, bop boom, bop boom. It was like a little tempo. I didn't like that. So I got up, and to this day I don't know why I did that, to be honest. Like I don't remember how I felt. It was kind of just like my body moved on its own, and it was ridiculously long how long it went on. It was like for like 5 seconds, and now that doesn't sound like a long time, but you try getting punched in the face for 5 seconds, and that's a long ass time for no one to jump in, for the teacher to just look by and be a bystander. So I got up, ran over there, never been a confrontational bit, ran over there, put my arms underneath his armpits and just like locked his arms up, because I didn't know how to fight, but I knew horsing around with my brothers, that was the best way to pin them down. So I did that, and it worked out like a charm. And then that's when like my music teacher came in from like outside, and like he came and pushed me. I was like, what did I do? What did you say fuck me for? But no, he didn't know. He just like tried to diffuse the situation. I went back to my seat, and to that day I felt it, where I was like, had I not moved, how much worse would that situation have been? Like he could have literally gotten a concussion. He could have died. You don't know. Like stranger things have happened. And so from that day, I tell that story, one, because I look back at it fondly, because it makes me sound manly, but also that if you are a bystander, and if you're just watching aimlessly, watching by, you might as well be contributing to whatever's happening to the person, because enough people, you would have enough, like with enough people you can change someone's like outcome, right? And I think that's why I wanted to bring it up, because until dawn, if it wasn't just Sam, if the whole group said, hey, that's not a good idea. Why is there a stink bug just staring at me? Nigga, can you move? Okay, bro. But if Sam and the group, if they all said, hey, not a good idea, Hannah would still be alive. Beth would still be alive. The Wendigos would still be trapped in there. No one else would be dead. But because they were all kind of just being sheep and being herded by the shepherd, I guess, they're dead. And for me, if I never ran over there and to help D out, he could have been seriously injured. He could have been traumatized. He could have developed some, I don't know, PTSD. Hell, like a lot of people do when they're getting, you know, physically hit. So I'm saying this to say, if you see something, say something. You don't need to be a target for their bullying. You don't need to be a suspect for whatever's happening, but you can stop it. One word. There's been so many like murder cases where people have heard screaming, have heard gunshots, heard something. And instead of looking out, they'll be like, oh, it's probably just fireworks. Oh, it's probably just the kids. No. One thing can change everything. I mean, it's the butterfly effect. Isn't that what Until Dawn's all about? So I say that to say, yeah, if you see something, say something. One little word could change someone's entire life. Will you do that? It's up to you.